Hi, my name is Craig Millsap. I'm the Network Administrator for the Gentry Public Schools. I also, on the side, manage nearly 30 school districts in the state of Arkansas for their automation that manages their student accounts. So tools like this is necessary to get the job done faster and for all of us to be making faster data-driven decisions. So today I'm going to discuss a replacement for the Cognos downloader. We've actually moved it into a module to be able to pull data quicker and to just make it, well, more modular. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and discuss that and the Arkansas K-12 code repository. If you don't know about this, this is where we publish a lot of our code for collaboration and the different projects that are here to assist you in managing your student accounts and to get data rostered in different programs and to help you, well, do more important things. Okay, so as of right now, I don't have it merged into the Arkansas K-12 code repository, but it will be here soon. But I wanted to go ahead and get a tutorial video out. So if we'll look in the in my personal GitHub, and you can find me on the ARK12. I'm one of the people over here, and I've got my own repositories here too. But the Cognos module will be moved over into the K-12 code GitHub. So we're going to go and actually install this, and I've got some pretty little deals. One of the requirements is that you have PowerShell 7. We should all be migrating towards PowerShell 7 is my opinion. It is the replacement for the Windows PowerShell 5.1. Lots of differences, but this also makes this cross-platform. And it actually, PowerShell 7 allowed us to have the features we needed to be able to move forward and do things like this. So the very first thing we need to do is actually get the module into our PowerShell modules folder. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that, and I've already got an administrator PowerShell window open here, and I'm just going to paste that in there. And that will download that for me. And I'll change all those URLs to be the ARK12. Okay, so once I have that, I can close that and open a new PowerShell window. Snip that to the side. And then, so we have our initial configuration. So instead of specifying our username on the command line when we invoke the Cognos download.ps1 or using the Cognos defaults.ps1 file, we're now going to be having profiles. That way you can have multiple SSO accounts to access Cognos, as well as to access eFinance separately from eStudent Plus side. In this case, I'm not going to do anything specific, and I'm not even going to specify a configuration name, because for simplicity purposes, this is just this one machine. So we're going to do set Cognos config, and I need to do my username, and I need to do my DSN name. Okay. Alright, so once I set my Cognos config, I can see that with the show Cognos config, and you can see where that data is stored and what account that's set up for. If I wanted to set up another one, you can specify a config name and give it its own name, and you'll end up with another configuration that you can connect Cognos with. That's important, especially when you need to do like the eFinance stuff. So, alright, so from here, we've already set the configuration, we've already shown the configuration. We can remove a specific configuration, and we can update a Cognos password. So if down the line we just need to update our Cognos password, all we have to do is do that, and we can specify the config name for it to specifically go into that. I'll go ahead and update that password again just for the fun of it. And just so that you can see how this data is stored, we're going to do a get content on that file. So your password is actually encrypted. This configuration will only work under this specific user on this specific machine. And that's done, I can't remember the cryptography name for it, but it's part of the Windows API cryptography stuff. So nothing to worry about. We can decrypt that and then pass those credentials onto the Cognos login screen. Okay, so this is one of the things I'm more proud of, the Cognos browser. So let's just, well, for starters, we can connect to Cognos, which actually starts a session in the background. So from here, we never authenticate again. As of right now with the Cognos downloader, unless you're using the session establish, it re-authenticates every single time, and it is much slower than what this module is designed to provide for us. So from here I can do the start Cognos browser. This would have done the connect on its own, but we're going to go ahead and do this anyways. The Cognos browser is designed to actually walk the tree structure of the Cognos folders and be able to show you, preview, download any report. So for example, I'm going to go into the team content folder. I'm going to go into the student management folder, and I'm going to go into 3, the shared data file reports, which is where we now store permanent projects for the ARK12 GitHub. And I'm going to go into 4 for the clever files, because that's something we're all familiar with. All right, so in this deal we can see that we have a couple of folders as there have been other projects going on, but we also have these reports. So let's just say I want to run number 5, schools report. So I'm going to hit 5, enter, and here I have an option to download it or preview it. So one of the neat things we have in the Cognos module now and with PowerShell 7 is we can actually return the data as an object itself so that we can process it. So if I want to hit P, I'm going to get a preview of the report data. So it gives me like the first 15 lines. I only have 4 school districts, so nothing there. All of this information is public record. And then from here I've got a preview of the actual data object. So it actually, we take the first line and we have all of our different properties for that object. All right, so and then down here I'm specifically telling you how to run this yourself. So if you want to go and open your own or write your own script, these would be the commands that you would type in there to pull this data in the exact same way. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, which will take me right back here. So I'm going to run schools again, but this time I'm going to download it. So I'm going to hit D, enter, and it specifically saved it to the folder I was already in. So the C users, CMILSAP schools.csv. It backed that up and then created another one, and then it tells you how to do this. And you'll notice these 2 commands are different. There's a get returns the object, save saves it to disk. So you can see that I have a save path over here on that. That's necessary, or it will do it to the current folder you're working in. Okay, so let's say for reports that require prompts. So we're going to do sections. Sections require us to specify a master schedule year. So we're going to do 6, and we're going to preview that. All right, so this will actually kick back and say, hey, we have unanswered prompts. We need to do that. Would you like to try to answer the prompts? Yes. And we know you can't really tell from the API, but from here I know that I just need the P year. So the parameter named year and then the value. On the left, you'll see P_MP marking period. That's actually an optional prompt on that report. So I don't have to fill that one out, but I do have to give this one. And then I'll get a preview of what that report actually looks like. And it will dump it out. Here, the first, like I said, 10 or 15 lines, and then an actual preview of the full data object. Okay. And we can restart. We can go back into your folder. Yeah, I'll ignore everything I have in here, but I can do 15 for like advisors and preview that. and that basically tells me that those are my associations for student advisors that I use in another automation run. So, and it again, it tells you how to actually get the report. All right, so I'm going to exit all of that. So that's a great tool to be able to help you actually get the commands correct, and I hope that you find that useful. So I think you did see, you can see that the get Cognos report, I'm going to do that again. I'm going to just do the advisors, and you'll be able to see what I mean when it returns an object. I get the full report directly to my terminal. So I can work with that object by, let's just say, in the first 5. All right, and then I can do something like, well, I want to know all buildings that have advisors assigned in it. So I can say like something like expand property, current building, unique. And I just get 17. So 17 is my high school, so that's the only building that has advisors assigned. Okay. Similar truth here on, I'm going to clear that, bring that down. So let's just say I want that advisors file, but I need to actually save it. So we've got the save Cognos report function, which again will put it right into the folder. But if I need to move it and put it somewhere specific, so let's just say I'm going to put it in C scripts. So it will actually send it and save it there. So it doesn't matter where you're running these commands from. You don't have to specify the full path of your Cognos download, and you can switch between your profiles, sorry, by being able to specify the actual connection. So let's just say I want to be in eFinance. So let's do something like connect to Cognos, and I only have the one profile, but my username is basically the same in that when I authenticate. But there are people, some of us old school, who have different usernames in eFinance. So that gets a little hairy, and you may have to create a whole new profile and use it, even though it's the same password, but it doesn't matter in this case for me. So I'm going to connect to Cognos. That switches me over to the Gentry FMS. So from here, I can do the start Cognos browser, and I can actually go into the My Folders. I only have access to one single report in the eFinance side. So from here I can do that, and I can preview that. I'm going to cut all that out. I can't go into the My Folders because I have a different username. So that doesn't work. I have to restart here, go into the team content. I have to go into the financial management system. I have to go into the district shared. The only report I have access to is also over there. And so I can do it in the OpenPO report. Okay, so this will run because I don't, you don't have to specify your different username for your eFinance if you're an old school person because of the team content URL. Don't want to explain that. You can create your own config to be able to do that better. Okay, so I'm going to exit that, and I hope to clear a lot of these screens before I publish this. All right, so when we are saving a report, I have to go back and authenticate again because I have to switch back into the Gentry SMS. When we're saving a report, we have the option of what format still. So if we need it as a PDF, that is completely doable. That opened up in a PDF. If you need it as an Excel sheet, Excel sheets are necessary for the repeater rows on advanced Cognos reports, so just know that ahead of time. If you do a get Cognos report, those columns are typically either missing or don't exist or are empty. our goal here is that eventually we really hope to be able to run certain reports in there and be able to generate things like attendance letters directly in Cognos, download to a PDF, and then take an action on them directly through the automation process. Okay. I think I clicked the window. All right, so a couple new things. We're trying to get to where we have a lot of the information we need when we're making automation and doing things directly available as if Cognos was an API. So we're interacting directly with Cognos when we do something like get cog school, and that will actually pull down all the information about my campuses. I can do something like get cog school building and say I only want the high school. And then I can take an action based on that, or I can pull that data, have it readily available to be referenced by another process. Okay, so if we need like student demographic information, get cog student. So let's just say something like this. Now I have to be extra careful here because well, obvious reasons. So let me just filter this out so that you don't see anything you're not supposed to. So, oh, no, I just want to select. Okay, so I will pull that and just filter down to those two properties. It's a full demographic layout of the student so that you can see, well, you can see a whole bunch of stuff. But anyways, you can see that that did pull that one student with that student ID. And let's just say, for example, I am looking for a student. So I can do last name, something like this. I'm not claiming this as fast. Okay, and you can even do things like first name. Of course, that will return nothing because there isn't a student like that. You can do all students by a building. You can do all students by a grade. And one of the other things about this is that you can do students based on an entry date. So let's just say an entry date after, of course right now it's during the summer, so I'm not going to have any new entries, but let's just say 5/1 of 2022. And I'm just going to measure that. So think of this as a way to be able to tell when new students have enrolled, and now you can take an action simply based on them being in this report. So I had 10 new students from 5/1. So let's just say I did an entry date after ended today. I could take an action just for new students and clean that up. And now all of this is kind of in a module that is supported by other people and have multiple eyes on it, and then you're not designing something custom and should work across the board. So lots of options there on being able to get your students and filter those down. So we can also get student schedules. So let's get cog schedule. I'm just going to do one single student. So you can pass parameters over. So so that's actually that student's full schedule right there. That should look very familiar to what we print out and give to them. My goal in this is that eventually I hope to, as a new student enrolls, I'll get it with the get cog student, and then I'll go get their actual schedule I will convert it to a PDF and I will stick it in their Google Drive. That way, in case their hack isn't ready yet or anything like that and they just want to reference it, they can quickly go and get that information by themselves. One thing I do want to note about the GetCog Stu schedule is that it is actually an array of arrays. And the way that PowerShell works with that, so let's just say I get all students in a building. You're going to see that it basically looks like it's one gigantic object listing. That's actually not true. And I just want to explain that real quick, that if I do a for each object and I print out the first item, and I'm also going to format table this. You'll see that they are actually individual based on the student's ID number, and that is their actual schedule. Okay. All right, so thinking of automated systems where we notify parents. If I want to notify parents based on a child's attendance, for example, if I want to send that into Remind 101 or any Blackboard Connect or anything like that. So let's say we need to get a student's attendance. Okay, so if you just run this by itself, it actually specifies the current day, which is very useful, that it automatically interprets that because we don't want to obviously get bad data. But in this case, since it's summer, I actually have to go back and I've got to do a date after. So let's do a date after, and I'm just going to do the first of the year. So from the first of the year, well, let me do that as a format table so we can see the object easier. We can see that those are the absences of that student. So now let's get a little more creative and say, okay, I want to send notifications for all students in a specific building, right? So I would go in here and do something like building 15 and hit enter, and that will return everybody who's been absent from 1-1 and so on. Now, for this example, let's just say, hey, we don't actually take attendance for this class 6B at all. All right, so we can do exclude periods by name 6B. And now that's actually has disappeared from the report. And let's say if we also are like, okay, yeah, but also period 5 is also not one we actually report attendance on because, you know, it's an advisory hour and they go where they need to for study hall and so on and so forth, and a teacher shouldn't have marked them absent anyways. So you can exclude multiple of them that way, and so those just start to disappear. All right, but also, hey, the attendance code. I have schools who use different attendance codes, but let's say we only want to report on A's. And those are the 3 absences. And so if you run the function this way, then you can validate that data, and you should always validate it before you ever pass it on to a notification system. So you would want to check those attendance dates regardless every single time. And so we'll validate that information before we pass it on to Remind and before we send notifications to all parents. And there'll be other things as we move forward and add on. I've got some examples here, things that of how that works. Anyways, I hope that this actually helps all Arkansas schools, helps us all develop faster, helps us all to be able to get the information we need quicker, to make data-driven decisions at the moment, and to be able to, you know, move on to other things, because I know that you guys don't have time to be developing the tools, and developing the tools is what you guys have funded for me to be able to do. So I appreciate the schools who are working with me. I appreciate the other people who are working in the ARK12 GitHub, and thank you. I hope that you find this tool useful. Thank you.